Should have commented so many times.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you wanted to talk about Nightwing.
Yes.
The movie.
I figure we could touch on a couple quick topics here, Justice League related, well, DCEU related, because there's a lot going on, but it's kind of flying under the radar a little bit. You're not seeing huge headlines, but just some things to touch on to keep everyone updated with what's going on in the DCEU.
Well, ever since the Batman, Ben Affleck possibly leaving.
Right. That's been kind of
much.
that's been kind of the big headline. But there's a lot of stuff that's kind of going underneath the radar that people aren't seeing as much.
Yeah, well, we already knew about the Nightwing movie coming out, but they're actually talking about how it will look at his past in some ways. They didn't really say what, though. They said there will be a lot of nods to his past, but we don't know if it'll show him as Robin in a flashback or, like, what.
And if it gives us a cameo to maybe Ben Affleck when they're working together at some point, there could be...
they hamstring that Batman into everything.
Right. So there's a good chance. And I think that there's a lot of potential here for them to go full-on origin story, or they just touch on it, because, I feel like... the general audience will have an idea that Nightwing was Robin, but even just briefly touching on it and not spending a lot of time with it would be a good thing. Because it was shown a little bit, wasn't it, in Batman Forever? What was that, the one where they showed the Graysons dying, and then that's when he became...
Yes.
Okay. So that's
but he became Robin.
Right.
They didn't show him become Nightwing.
Right. So if they just maybe briefly touch on that, I think that'd be great. I think it's important to note, too, that Chris McKay is the director. He did a fantastic job with the Lego series so far, with Lego Batman... And the Ninjago movie looks pretty good.
Did you watch Lego Ninjago?
No, it's not out yet.
Oh.
I'm saying it looks really good. But the Batman one was really good. And I don't know, he's a really good director. He does a good job. It'd be interesting to see... This is probably going to be a little bit more of a darker film, so it'll be interesting how he does with that. But it seems like it's in good hands, and it's written by... I think it's Chris Dubuque. It's something Dubuque. I forget his first name. But he's got a few quality movies under his belt as well. So... as far as the Nightwing movie goes, we don't have a lot of news. We just know what's happening, and we know that there's going to be quite a few nods to his past. So
yeah, and I'm interested in this, but like Nightwing's never been high on my radar personally. It's like I don't dislike him, I don't like him. He's just kind of there. So for me, it's like I'll be waiting to see like the trailers and stuff to see like what this looks like.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is I'm coming at this more from a general audience standpoint on this because I have no investment in Dick Grayson.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fair. And I don't think a lot of people do. And I think
a lot of people do like Dick Grayson.
No, yeah,
like Nightwing.
Like as far as like general audience, compared to like Robin,
compared to Batman even
Robin, even going as far as Robin, because Robin,
well, people don't know Nightwing is Robin.
Right, that's what I mean.
Audience,
I'm saying like as far as you've got like Batman and Robin, but then Nightwing's kind of like a tier beneath that as far as publicity and
there's no brand recognition to him.
Right, and so bringing him into the spotlight is going to have to come down to some really good marketing and some quality trailers, I think is what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, and I think Wonder Woman saved this whole universe by like a thread for now, but depending on how Justice League does, it's either going to just break the entire thing or bring it above water.
I agree. I think it's kind of holding it together by a thread. So, and I shouldn't say a threat, because Warner Brothers has been doing really well this year between Wonder Woman, what was that one, Dunkirk. I mean, they've had some big hits financially.
Well, yeah,
this year.
Warner Brothers has, but we're just talking about the DCEU only.
No, but that's
and,
what
like,
I mean.
It being well received, because like making money, yes, that's what they're out to do, right?
Yeah.
But if everybody thinks your movies suck, it doesn't really matter. Like your universe isn't really substantial then. It doesn't have substance. It'll make money, but no one really cares about it.
Right. And
so like that's kind of what we're looking at is like not only the profits, but like do people care about it? I liked Man of Steel. I didn't love Man of Steel. It wasn't like, oh man, this changed my life, but I liked it. I thought the Batman v Superman theater cut was like a missed opportunity, and I thought the Ultimate Cut was actually pretty good.
I agree, yeah.
And then I thought Suicide Squad was just an abomination.
Not good. Hey, award-winning Suicide Squad.
Yeah, you're right. What did it win? A Grammy for?
It won an Oscar for costume design.
For costume, yep. And makeup.
It might have won makeup.
Yeah.
I know for sure costume
Together.
design. Yeah.
They're in the same thing. What's an What did I say? A Grammy?
You said Grammy. That's singing.
That's singing.
Yeah.
Jeez, ooh.
Yeah.
I always mix those up because I've never cared about those awards,
Right.
to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I'm interested to see what they make of this. But moving on, I wanted to look at this other story. There were a lot of fans of the Green Lantern. I know, like, you're like fans of Green Lantern, what? But they do exist. He's a cool character when he's done right. I think.
When he's done right. I mean, when he's done.
It's
with
just he's
Ryan
done wrong.
Reynolds.
He's done wrong more than he's done right. So just even in cartoons and comics.
Right. I think if you just watch the Ryan Reynolds movie, you'll see all you need to see about the epitome of Green Lantern.
I don't think you will.
Yeah. No, you won't. But yeah, essentially the news that we got is that there's a consensus that 2 members of the Green Lantern Corps are may appear in Justice League, and that is due to Joss Whedon coming in, and he's giving them a cameo. It's kind of, from what the story says from Screen Rant, is that Joss Whedon is kind of shoehorning this in there.
Well, I think it's funny that they were talking, because we're gonna definitely post the links to these, because these are both Screen Rant articles that we're talking about.
Yes.
I thought it was funny how they were talking about how the main key component missing was these Green Lantern, like the Green Lantern Corps. It's like Martian Manhunter's not here though either.
No. And neither is, Hawkgirl, Hawkman, and those guys aren't as big as Martian Manhunter, I don't think, but like...
No, well, Martian Manhunter's been a mainstay forever.
Right.
Like, since JLA, so...
And there's a ton of Justice League, and these are the main guys. I think Green Lantern is a big one, but Martian Manhunter should show up at some point.
Yeah, and my personal opinion was just that Cyborg shouldn't be in this, because I don't think he's as interesting as, like, Manhunter of a character. I know that's a debate. Like, yes. I'm not trying to start a debate, but my whole thing was always, like, they kind of shoehorned Cyborg into being a League member during the New 52, and Martian Manhunter always had the same thing going on, kind of, as Clark, which was good, which was like one of the last surviving members of his race, like had to deal with his own mortality, had to deal with like being an alien on a foreign planet, and he really would have fit in well with the themes of this universe, like how they're like, oh, go home, alien, like to Superman. Like, he just would have worked well in the DCEU. And instead they opted to bring Cyborg in just to connect the mother boxes.
Well, I think there's more to it than that, because I think that Cyborg has been on Teen Titans, the TV show. There's a Teen Titans show going on right now on Cartoon Network that he's arguably, one of the funnier characters on the show.
They should have saved him for a Titans movie.
That's what I'm saying. It would have been cool. That would have been cool. But I think in order to attract audiences, people seeing Cyborg, he's more recognizable now than Martian Manhunter. So you're seeing someone that actually people are going to be like, oh, that's Cyborg. Where if you just see Martian Manhunter, it's like, who's the green guy?
You're right. You're right to an extent, but I can make that argument with Aquaman too. He hasn't been on TV in a while since Justice League the cartoon, and neither has Martian Manhunter. Yet he still gets.
But I think that Aquaman's a higher profile character as far as recognition than Martian Manhunter.
Oh, I think so. No, only for like being a joke.
Well, that's what the general population. Like, if you say Aquaman or Martian Manhunter, but they know him. They know him.
Yes, yeah, but like, I don't know.
And that's
maybe
thing,
knowing him, sure, but like if everybody hates him.
But Jason Momoa is. He's Game of Thrones.
He is Game of Thrones.
He is the Game of Thrones.
Oh.
No, he was awesome in Game of Thrones. He's a good actor. He's a fun personality, and he seems like a high quality Aquaman compared to what we've seen with just the blonde, annoying Aquaman that everyone hated. Like, this seems like it could be refreshing.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to sidetrack the conversation here. My point is just that if you look at the roster lineup, there's already questionable decisions made on it.
Yes, yeah.
And like, I'm not the only one who thinks that. There's a lot of people who've been saying like, where's Green Lantern? Why is Martian Manhunter not involved? Like, why is Cyborg here? Because a lot of people didn't actually know that Cyborg was part of the JL now, believe it or not. Because they only knew him from Teen Titans.
Right.
Because the general audience, yes, they know who he is, but they only know him from Teen Titans because they don't read the New 52.
Yeah.
So they had no idea he was a leaguer now. So it's like, there's already like people in here that were weird. And the DCEU has made some odd casting decisions too. Not really with the main league, but with people like Lex.
Yeah.
And and choosing Steppenwolf instead of Darkseid as like the round one villain. You know, like there's a lot of like things that have made people uneasy about these movies, even looking away from the critical scores of all the other ones.
Right.
It's just like, why? You know, like there's a lot of why to decisions being made.
Definitely.
So I just feel like they're going to have to do a lot here with the cast that we have, Lantern or no Lantern, to prove people wrong. Because, not to cut you off.
No.
But I do think that there's two ways people are looking at this. Three ways people are looking at this right now. You have the diehard fanboys, which I'm not trying to insult anybody. That is a real group where it's like, this is going to be amazing. Whether it's good or bad, I'm going to love it. And that is a real group, like with any of these superhero movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like you have that with Batman, too, where Batman and Robin came out and some people liked it just because Batman was in it. That exists. Then you have this is going to be terrible. Why? Because Batman versus Superman was terrible and so was Suicide Squad. And that's what they think. And they're determined for it to be bad. And then you also have the group where it's like, I don't really know what to think about this movie. Like Wonder Woman was great. Man of Steel was okay. Batman v Superman was okay. And like Suicide Squad was bad. So what's going on here? You know, like I feel like those are the three ways people who are seeing this movie are looking at it. And they just have a lot to prove. They have to do a lot to prove people wrong about it being either bad, you know, no matter what, or the people who are uneasy. That's all. And I think that it's also a concern that this is going to be an Avengers clone.
No, but I think there is concern that Joss Whedon, because he is now a part of it, that he's maybe going to bring the tone lighter and bring it more Avengers-y. And I don't think that that's necessarily going to be his intention because...
Well, that's not necessarily bad.
No, I don't think...
I just don't want it to be
Avengers. Bad. No, and I think if they go more towards the tone of like the success with Wonder Woman and more away from the things like... I mean, Batman vs. Superman I liked, but I see the flaws. So...
I don't think the darkness was the flaw, though.
No.
I think it was the writing.
Yes. Yeah, and moving towards, I mean, just a nice story, a really well-shot movie... and something that flows well, then, I mean, even if it's close to the Avengers, if it's a good movie and it works well and the characters are interesting, like if the end of the movie comes and we don't care about 2 or 3 of the characters, then the movie has failed. Because the goal of this movie is to make you, maybe one character you just didn't gel with, but at least 60 to 70, maybe 80% of the characters, you're like, I like that character. I could get behind that character.
Well, I hope it's able to do that for me because I already am going into it not caring about Aquaman, not really caring about Cyborg, and not really on board with the casting for Flash.
So hopefully the goal of the movie is to change your mind.
So like right now I like Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. The casting and character portrayals so far. I'm not saying I'm going to go into it and look for it to be bad.
No, and I think that's one thing that's a concern with this movie too. And I mean, we were gonna make a separate video about it, but I think we should just go for it.
I forgot we were doing it.
Yeah, I say we just do it. Let's just make it a long video. So, I think with this movie, there's a lot of concern about how's it gonna do, not only critically but box officely. Because I was gonna say before too, with Warner Brothers, with the movies that they've done this year and that they've made a lot of money this year and they've exceeded expectations. They can afford for this not to do incredibly well. They have a bit of breathing room there. So that then kind of gives the idea that maybe they'd be willing to give it another shot because they've done so well. And this will do well. This will make the money. Odds are it's going to make the money. But the concern is if this is a flop or doesn't really meet expectations, gets critically smashed, and doesn't make the money that's supposed to, what do they do? Where does the DCU go?
I think it'll make money. I just don't know if it'll be good.
Right.
Because, like, that's something we've seen time and time again. Like, Suicide Squad did better than BVS, and it was way worse.
Agreed, yeah.
There's not really an argument that it was an objectively better movie. Like, not one that has legs.
No, and it wasn't. I don't think it was at all. And I guess my concern with this is, I honestly, from the trailers, and it's been kind of mixed reactions. For the most part, I've seen a lot of positive. As far as like just even looking at the like counters on the videos, it seems to be more like, I'm excited for this. Let's see how this turns out. This seems to be more of an upbeat tone than Batman vs Superman. Like, they made some changes that the fans wanted, but how's it going to turn out with 2 different directors and some reshoots and stuff like that?
Right. And Henry Cavill's beard.
And his beard. And wasn't it a mustache, dude? Didn't he have a juicy mustache?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah.
then,
yeah, he did.
What's going to happen and the state of the DCU, what I think is going to happen, right? What I predict is going to happen, I think it's going to do well enough in the U.S. I don't think it's going to explode. I don't think it's going to dominate the North American side of the box office. I think it'll do well, but I don't think it's going to break records.
You don't think it's going to be Avengers?
I don't think it'll be quite Avengers. I think my prediction for this movie, worldwide, I think it's going to be around $800 million, is what I think. Which is by no means a bust. I think if they crack the billion, I hope they go way past that. I think they could crack the $1 billion mark. But I think anything underneath the $1 billion mark is kind of seen as a little bit of a failure for Justice League, because this is what the universe has been culminating to. So I think it very well, I mean, if it's a good movie, it's getting good reviews, and it has legs, because that was a problem with Batman vs Superman, is it didn't have legs to keep it going to that $1 billion mark. It didn't have the high reviews that it has right now. It has legs, and it's still smashing records.
Well, yeah, and you also had, like, because this is what I was looking at. I was looking at Batman v Superman, which domestic was $330.3 million. Foreign, it was 542.9, so about 543. So it ended up being 873. I mean, that was good.
That's that's nothing to complain about.
But if this isn't more than that, that's really a problem, because, like, it's going to be higher money to cast.
It is.
You have Affleck, and you know what I mean? Like, it's not just Affleck and Cavill, it's all of them.
Right.
It's Gal Gadot. It's going to be
Ezra Miller,
yes.
Jason Momoa. I
yes.
mean, those aren't like small.
Well, Jason
actors.
Momoa especially not now,
right?
Because he got paid bank on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, if this doesn't, all I'm saying is, like, if this doesn't make more than that, it is actually a failure, because you're gonna have a higher budget for this movie, 100%, because, like, you also have Darkseid's minions, like Steppenwolf's troops.
A lot of CGI.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of CGI with that. You have, like, Wonder Woman in this now in a more prominent role. Like, most of her combat is somewhat CGI with the lasso and the sword and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's just there's a lot more riding on this movie.
Yes, and that's why I genuinely hope it succeeds. But I think that even if it hits $900 million,
right,
barely gets past Batman vs Superman, is received at like a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, and just kind of barely pushes by Batman vs Superman, I don't think that that's necessarily like Warner Brothers is like, pack up, the DCEU is done by any means. They're still making $900 million in about 2 months. That's pretty good money. There's a lot of marketing that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into it. I get that. But I don't think that even if this movie somewhat underperforms, which that is what I think is going to happen, at the very worst, this is going to somewhat underperform. It's not going to be a flop by any means.
Yeah, because
it's got a lot of hype.
Well, and the reason that I say there will be a higher budget too was, if you hear me typing, this is what I was looking at, because I didn't actually know these numbers. Like, Batman v Superman, it said that it had a $300 million gross budget.
Right.
So I don't know if that's including marketing or not. A lot of times the budgets don't include marketing.
Yeah.
So if it's not including marketing, I would bump that up, honestly, like 200 more.
I would say, yeah.
Like, usually, like, it seems like nowadays, when you have a blockbuster, it'll be the marketing budget is like 75% of the production budget. Like, it'll be like, so if you had, let's say your movie was coming out for like $500 million, which is a ridiculous amount, but let's say it was, then they would probably put like between $300 to $400 million in marketing. So it's like, if this, let's say this has they had said before $250 million for Justice League budget. I don't think that's going to be true. I think it's going to be closer to $4 million.
Yeah.
Especially after reshoots, after the whole Henry Cavill, you know, like,
mustache
removal. Like, that's not hundreds of millions, but it's something.
Yeah.
And all these things are adding up. Plus casting, I would say it's going to be closer to at least 400. Especially because Avengers Infinity War, they said they were putting like $1 billion. Marvel is into that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to drop below $400 million for a budget for Justice League 1.
No.
In any way. So, like, that's like my conservative budget guess. If that thing only got 800 or 900 million, like, yes, you would still be profiting, like, probably 300 million off that. That's kind of bad for, like, what these movies are, though. I mean, for what they want out of this.
Well, I think they want to see high numbers, but I think they also know that they haven't had a great... Like, they've had
one great movie.
They've had a much harder time building a universe than Marvel did, and so...
Well, yeah, because they went backwards.
Right. And so
Marvel started by doing one singular movie for all their heroes, almost.
Yeah, exactly.
And then combined it.
Right. And if they're able to... I mean, Wonder Woman, people universally love that movie. It did really well. If this movie comes out and gets the reviews that it needs to, and even if it... I mean, legs. I mean, I've said it a couple times, but it's got to have the legs to get up to $1 billion. But in order for people to feel satisfied, I think, about this, is for it to be critically accepted, because this will then be a stepping stone for all of the solo movies. I mean, they've got a ton of things lined up for the future, and for this universe to succeed, they're going to need this to critically do well. And even if it comes up a little short as far as box office wise and what they would like, the fact of the matter is they're going to be making close to $400 million off this movie.
And to be transparent, you and I have had movies that we've liked, and even a couple that we think are actually good that people misunderstood that were critically not enjoyed.
Yeah.
That, like, we would say, no, that's an objectively decent movie. People were just really hard on it, too.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not like that's our gauge for success, but that is the public's gauge for success.
Yes.
When people go to watch movies now, they're kind of cheap about it. Like, they don't want to go to something that they think will be bad. And so instead of going and forming their own opinion, they will look up, oh, how did this do critically ahead of time? I don't really do that very often. I've done it a couple of times. When it's something I'm really looking forward to, that's about it. Otherwise, I personally just, like, look at a trailer, look at multiple trailers, wait and see if any of my friends saw it day one, because I don't really go day one to movies usually, see what they thought, and then I'll be like, oh, that looks good to me. But a lot of people don't do it that way. They're like, what did all the critics think?
Yeah.
Personally, I don't care what the critics think, to be honest with you. It matters to an extent. The only good thing about it is if you want to throw it out to defend something you like. I feel like that's it. You know? Like, there's not really too much to be gained from going to the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Right, I think.
But, like, people will look at that.
Yeah, and the only time that I've used it is, like, for instance, like, with It. Like, if that movie got, like, really, I mean, just smashed in the critical, like, department, I probably would have no desire to go see it, because I'm not a horror guy anyways. But now that, I mean, this movie's done really well, it's got great word of mouth, I want to go see it. And
right.
so that's
you
one
go
thing.
See It.
Yeah.
Everybody's making that joke.
But there's a lot of, I mean, that doesn't happen a lot, but
no,
I think
I'll throw it out.
Happen.
I'll throw it out to defend The Force Awakens when you crap on The Force Awakens that
right.
all the critics loved it.
Right.
I don't actually care what they think though.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth,
But it just
doesn't matter to me at all.
Yeah.
But like, you can throw it out there, I guess, if you want to defend your point.
Right.
Or if you want to be like, no, this Transformers is better. It's 19%, not 15.
See. Yeah. 19 or 15. That's probably accurate.
That's
actually.
a 4% higher.
Yeah.
People liked it.
Clearly, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you stink, boo. Didn't like Transformers, boo.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Like, this will be interesting to see. I think we should kind of conclude this so it doesn't get like too rambly.
Yeah, definitely.
But they have a lot to prove with this movie. I hope they can do it. I'm not exactly stoked for it either way, but I'm willing to give the movie a chance.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit. I'm super excited for this, but I definitely want to see it succeed in every way. And yeah, I guess I think it's gonna do well, and I just need it to do critically well too for the universe to.
For everybody to accept the universe.
Yes, that's what I want. You know,
I think that's what it comes down to.
As a fan of it, I just want people to think like, oh, a DC movie's coming out. Cool, it's gonna be good. Let's go see it. You know, and it's not there yet.
You know what? I want to throw in at the end of this. I was talking to my friend today, and I asked him like if he saw Civil War, and he was like, "Oh, the Marvel movie," and I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "You know, I really didn't like Green Lantern."
Oh my god.
And I was like, well, this is the general audience right here.
Yeah.
This guy.
This is a good gauge. Yeah.
This is a good gauge of what the general audience is.
Yeah.
I know I've made jokes before about the general audience being stupid, And I don't really think that way. Like, it's just like more of like an elitist joke.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
there are times when the general audience is really dumb.
Yeah.
Really dumb. And I do get why people felt the need to defend BVS like really hard. We talked about it a little bit and did like it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard for fans of these things going in when everybody thinks their thing sucks.
Right.
And they like it. So,
yeah.
We'll see where this goes. Anyway, guys, let us know what you think down in the comments below. Are you a fan of the Justice League, the League of Justice, the Sense of Right Alliance? Let us know. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Hulk is my favorite Justice League character.